Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Leonardo. Should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? Coming out swinging, I think, on a Monday. I was a bit stronger. Intonated. Is that a word? The intonation was stronger than not necessarily than intended than it usually is, I suppose. But yeah, we're here Monday morning. Time to stop the snoring. I'm gonna get out of my bed. What should we talk about today? I don't know. Should we actually talk about the Dungeon Master's Guide, I suppose, that I've gotten now? Because I was going to talk about it yesterday, and I got completely sidetracked talking about my shelves. We can have a quick look at it. I haven't had a good chance to actually proper flick through it, so, you know, we'll sort of do double dipping here, where I talk about something while also recording an Animal Crossing episode. So anyway, hello everyone, we're now in Fawnhallow at 6:04pm on Monday, January 8th, 2024. Winter fishing tourney, which I'm sure we will absolutely definitely not partake in. Apologies to... Wait, who runs it? CJ? I was going to say Nate, and I was like, that's not right. I'm pretty sure that's a bug person, and two, that's also in the previous games, not in this game. I can't believe how dark it is already in Animal Crossing. That's just a winter month for you, you know. In the infamous words of a song I used to sing in primary school, the days are getting much shorter, the nights are closing in. I can't remember, something, because autumn time is here again, or winter time is here again. I honestly don't remember. I feel like I looked this up recently. Anyway, so yeah, Dungeon Master Guide. Hold on, let's go and look at my mission points. If you don't know, TLDR, basically I said to my friends ages ago, I was like, hey, you know, maybe one day I'll run a D&D session. I do like D&D and that sort of thing. I've never run it before, but I do think that a DM role probably fits me a bit better than a player role. Not that I don't like being a player, but like, I mean, if you know me, I don't necessarily if you'd agree, but I'd imagine my friends would be like, yeah, DM probably suits you better. And then I proceeded to not do that for like a year and a half, maybe? I don't know how long it's necessarily been. But, you know, story time, I guess. Now it's coming along. My friend asked me again, and I was just like, you know what? Yeah, okay, let's do it. You know, after the new year, let's do it. Remind me if I don't start setting things up. I'm setting up a Discord server, so if you are that friend and you are watching, it is happening. I've got the books. They'll probably watch this video because it's going to be something D&D related. I'll be like, oh, click. I've got the books, I've got ideas. Again, I haven't really done as much planning as I would like because it's hard to get things down on page. Like, I've done very sort of macro scale planning, but now I need to actually do some more micro scale planning because obviously this macro scale things are not going to pan out. They're nice for like set dressing for the world, but I do need to think of like, hey, what like town are they actually going to start in? Things like that. So we're going to have a quick flick through, I suppose, this Dungeon Master Guide. Obviously, I'm not going to read this entire thing for you right now. It's like 300 pages. That's too much. But we can get like a general ideas by reading, I suppose, the headings and seeing how things go. So I know the beginning of this part because I've actually seen it before, even when I wasn't DMing. I don't remember when I saw this or something, but how to use this book: Master of Worlds, create a world's Master of Adventures, Master of Rules. Stuff like this. Know your players. This one's an interesting. It's sort of like a personality test for your players. Well, not like a personality test, but like a categorization, a principle. Like, are you an actor, an explorer, an instigator, a fighter, an optimizer, a problem solver, or a storyteller? I know myself, I'm very much a storyteller, probably followed by actor, and then the others are just like, whatever happens. Which you might be like, oh, you're not a problem solver, didn't you like solving puzzles? I think so, but I think in the context of D&D, the puzzles are never as interesting to me as I think puzzles are. I'm just kind of there to play a moment, and I like satisfying, like, you know how much I talk about story arcs in games and ideas and that sort of thing. I love my story arcs. So I'm almost certainly I'm 100% a storyteller first, I think. Anyway, a world overwritten, the big picture, and we'll try and answer these, I suppose, on my own world. So I suppose if you are a friend who wants to not get spoilers, this is probably an opportunity to click away. Otherwise, if you're a random person, let's strap in for some world building. So big picture, core assumptions. These are D&D core assumptions, not all of which apply to me, apply to the world I'm making. Gods oversee the world. That's true. There are gods in my world. Much of the world is untamed. This one I haven't actually thought about too much, but I think I'm going to make it reasonably true. To a certain degree. I do, of course, want key like signposts around the place, like monuments around the place, but whatever. The world is ancient. This one, plot twist, is not very true in my world. My world is quite a new world. Conflict shapes the world history, kind of. Because there's not... Conflict does kind of shape the world history, but because there's not much history of this world, that doesn't apply as much. And the world is magical. Yes, true. And then it's saying what happens if you subvert these sort of things instead. And this one, the world is new. If that applies to me, I should probably read that section, but I'm not going to right now. Gods of your world. I've got my own gods. I've got my own pantheon. I've got like a higher pantheon of. But the number keeps changing. But I think it's currently 10 gods right now. I mean, I have lower pantheons of like other things which, you know, I had to discover as they come along because they're not as important. Yeah, greater deities and lesser deities. Oh, quasi deities. I didn't know there was a thing. Divine origin, but they don't hear or answer prayers, grant spells to clerics. Immensely powerful beings. Titans. By from union of two deities. I didn't know these were thing vestiges. Deities who lost all their worshippers. Okay, that's actually something I should put in. Greater deities, lesser deities, and quasi deities. I didn't know quasi deities were a thing, but anyway, I'm not using a Forgotten Realms gods. Because I kind of want my own pantheon and system to make sense of the story themes, which are going to be in my thing. Wow, there's a lot of things here. I'm not reading all of that. Humanoids and gods? Mapping your campaign. Province scale, kingdom scale, continent scale, combining scales. I have a few kingdoms going on. And I think they're split up into 3 continents, if I believe. I don't think all my players are going to see all the kingdoms and that sort of thing. They're just going to know about them. I assume they'll probably stay within 1 or 2. If it gets to that sort of scale, then maybe they will, but who knows. Settlements. Now this stuff I need to actually think about. Home base. I have like a brief idea in my head of what I think that home base town is going to be like. A reasonable sized city. Government. Interesting. Or there's a political lesson here telling you about all different types of governancy and that sort of thing, and factions and organizations, which certainly I had to create some. Like, I don't know how to create loads, to be perfectly honest. I think I'm probably going to be guilty of this as well, and also it's just like a general thing. A general thing is I don't need to think about every single faction which exists in the world. I just need to think about the major ones which they're likely to run into, or major ones that they'll want to run into, you know, that sort of thing. Like, is there going to be a thieves guild of some sort? Probably. They're probably going to want to run into a thieves guild if anyone's playing that sort of character. Is there going to be some sort of wizard college? Probably, if they want to run into it, but I don't need to have like all the details panned out for that. I feel like there's going to be a lot more improvisation than I expect in the world building, to be honest. Start small. Create a home base, create a local region, create a starting adventure. That's true. But that's a thing. I need to signpost like plot points, which are like actual adventures they can go on, like feasibly. And I have like technically the overarching mega plot point which is going through. But I need to have some smaller scale ones as well to actually like build up to these big events. When not to shake it up. False action. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of things that go into world building also like apply across mediums as well. You need like highs and lows, I think, for many things, like high intensity moments, low intensity moments in like a movie. Otherwise, if it's high intensity all the time, you're like, I am overwhelmed. If it's low intensity all the time, you go, I'm bored. I think the same thing probably applies to a D&D campaign as well, right? You need those high intensity moments, you need those low intensity moments, etc., etc. Tracking time. Time is going to be interesting. I also don't think it's going to be something I'm going to care that much about. Character names. Naming schemes, I'm drawing upon real life here. I've got like all the different regions and kingdoms, I suppose. And I'm drawing them from real world cultures. Not necessarily such that they're reflective so much of a culture, but it will very much help with like naming schemes and that sort of thing, to give them like distinct identities without making my players go, hey, why don't you just learn 12 made up cultures or something that I've made up, or like 15 different cultures or something. So then they can hear a name and then they'll be like, if they use their real life knowledge to be like, oh, that's probably like someone from this region or something like that. That I think makes the most sense to me. You know, we have a real world, why not tap into it when possible. Wuxia. What even is this? I don't even know. Flavors of fantasy? Types of fantasy. Okay. What sort of fantasy am I going to have? Heroic fantasy. Probably. Mythic fantasy? I don't really know the difference between these. Crossing the streams. Creating a multiverse. I will have different planes, but I don't think a planes... I probably don't need to think about it too much until now. I have like material planes and transitive planes. Oh my god, there's so many. Inner planes, outer planes. I don't really know if I want elemental planes necessarily. 16 outer planes. Positive and negative planes. Okay, that's too many planes. I'm not going to have as many planes. I'm going to have a material plane. Maybe I'll have some transitive ones, and then some external planes. I don't know what to call them. Maybe I'll have more, but they just like will never be spoken about. I feel like I gotta have astral plane and the Feywild. Those is like so key to. Actually, do I need them? Maybe I don't. I think it's the idea of how much do I need and how much do I not need. Because I'm gonna be honest. I'm not super jazzed about the idea of planes of certain elements. Like, what does that even mean? I feel like that's too overwhelmingly encompassing or something, you know? Like a plane of fire, like everything's on fire. Like that's not how it works. If anything, it's kind of like a hellish landscape. So shouldn't there just be like a plane of the underworld or something, which can encompass the fire parts of it as well? You know, basically, I kind of want to merge these elemental planes into other planes. Anyway, that's not very important. Like, well, how much plane hopping are you doing in like level 3? It's a thing I need to also think about for myself. Is I can build this up as I go along. It doesn't all need to be done now. I don't know if I want 9 hells as well. That seems like too many hells to keep track of. I don't know what these things are, but they're adorable. There's like these little mechanic things. Okay, so many planes. Part 2, Master of Adventures. Okay, so that's all the world building stuff. It's actually not all that much. Now I look at it. About 60 pages, and no, I don't need to read all of that in depth, and you don't either, probably. So creating adventures is a part. Like, I'm fine. I feel like I'm going to be pretty comfortable with myself and the whole world building aspect, but the actual adventure part aspect of D&D, I feel like it's going to be certainly a lot more difficult. Especially creating an interesting story which will engage my players. That's what I think might be one of the hardest parts. Because obviously, like, we're friends, so a lot of like story points which I might want to take or steal from other places, I'm going to excuse me, borrow from things I've seen, but they've all experienced, and they've probably also experienced as well. So it's no longer very interesting if it's something that they don't see for the first time. But I'm not saying I got to make up something completely unique and individual for them to enjoy it. There's a lot more that I suppose goes into a story than just the plain old, have I seen this before? Has this been done before? Has this not been done before, you know? Designing NPCs, quick NPCs. That's another thing I was thinking. I don't know if I can actually do it on Notion, but like creating like a generator or something would be super cool. For like when I'm like, oh, I need like an NPC now. That's what I would do. Villains, interesting. I do have some ideas for some villains, don't you worry. Which I think fit into the sort of plot points they're gonna hit. Interesting. Adventure environments. Dungeons. I mean, it is Dungeons and Dragons. You gotta have your dungeons in your Dungeons and Dragons, otherwise it's kind of not the point. Air quality. Okay, I'm not gonna go back far. I think these are sort of things where the unwritten rule is that you assume they're the default, or maybe you don't even mention them at all, and then the players will fill in them with their own mind. And then once they're brought up and actually relevant to whatever you're doing, that's when you can decide on the spot what they are. So like air quality, you can assume they all have normal air quality, these dungeons, until it becomes the point being like, wait, how long can we like survive down here? Like, how's it oxygen? And then I could be like, oh, that's an interesting point. The oxygen's really thin down here. You using your torches is actually consuming most of it as you go along. Judging by your estimates, you have maybe about an hour left before your oxygen gets to critical levels. Something like that, you know? An hour's probably not long enough. I'd probably give them a bit more, because then that's something just I've sprung on one out of nowhere. That seems a little unfair. Actually, so it seems like a lot of this stuff is just like lists of like ideas and things and items to use. I think definitely of a magic item component is something I'm going to use a lot from the DM guide, because while I might be able to come up with creative ideas, I don't know if I'm going to be able to necessarily come up with balanced ideas. And you might question, I suppose, the concept of balance, I suppose, in a internal game you're playing. But the thing is, this entire like core rulebook is supposedly balanced around each other, right? Like it's all balanced within itself, you know, against monsters and that sort of thing. If you don't have that sort of level of balance, or you try and maintain it, then that means like the reference material is no longer become useful to you. Like CR rating is like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore to you anymore, because now everything's too strong or everything's too weak. And also the players need to be sort of balanced against each other. It's probably not so greatly fun if one of a character, well, maybe fun for that one player if they can do literally everything, but then everyone else is sort of just like, well, why am I here? What's the point of my character? Pricing is also an interesting thing as well. What minor property does it have? Magic items. A lot of magic items. Is this just all magic items? This is a lot of magic. Wow, this is so many magic items. It's like 100 pages of magic items. But I think, you know, I remember something I saw from Matt Mercer, which was an interesting way that he did things. You know, Matt Mercer very much seems like someone who's got everything planned out, every opportunity. He loves world building, I'm sure of it. So I'm sure he has a lot of it planned out. But a lot of it, I'm sure, is inspired by the fact that he just probably just opens up a book, sees something and goes, oh, that'd be kind of cool to put into a campaign, and then just fits it in somehow, you know? So I'm sure a lot of it will just be sort of me flicking about being like, oh, look, Talisman of a Sphere. That's a legendary item, so maybe I wouldn't just put that in so casually, but I'd be like, that might be something interesting. Tentacle Rod. Wand of Magic Missiles. Artifacts. Wow, this is so many items. Oh, okay, hold on. I went too far. The items have stopped. Epic Boons. Marks of Prestige. Supernatural Gifts. I feel like I tend to favour those over magical items, but that isn't necessarily what my place will prefer. Master of Rules. Now this is an interesting one. I feel like I'm pretty good at making a runtime decision and being like, okay, that's just going to be how it rolls, you know? Player asks me a rule, I'll be like, this is how it makes sense to me. And that's what we'll be rolling with until we find out otherwise. This is sort of like the meta aspect of actually playing it, like how to do a map. Diseases. Interesting. So if I'm ever out of like ideas or things, I'll just like randomly flick in here and just be like, yeah. Lingering injuries. That could be interesting. I don't know how I do it. Because that's like brutal criticals, but brutal... Wait, is it brutal criticals? I can't remember. One of them when you get like permanent injuries if you get critically hit or something. Tends to be kind of unfun. I don't want to do anything crazy, you know? I just want to... I want to keep things casual. I want to keep things vanilla now, and then as I get better and better, then we can start going wilder and wilder. So I think that's probably what I need to keep in mind. Keep things simple, and then they can become wilder and wilder and wilder, I suppose, as things go on. You don't need to go so hard, so ham. Straight off the bat. There's room for growth. You know, and when you're just starting out, it's not like players are like, I'm going to expect the Mona Lisa or something. Well, Mona Lisa's not even infamously known for being like that great thing. For being like one of his best paintings or anything like that. But anyway, I guess I'll round this episode off here because I don't really have anything else to speak about. But if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Excuse me, likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.